I've talked a lot about Ryan Walters. He's the Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction. He's the guy who runs education in the state of Oklahoma. I'm not going to go over everything, but recently this guy tried to purchase 55,000 Trump Bibles for every classroom in the state of Oklahoma using taxpayer dollars. He has temporarily canceled that request right now, but he might bring it back. He also recently purchased 500 Trump Bibles for use in AP government classes, which I've made a video about because that's ridiculous. And I don't know where he got the money for that either, because he might have used taxpayer money to do it. He was also this week not named Secretary of Education, which is kind of good news, except Linda McMahon is equally crazy. So I don't know what we're going to look forward to there. But I wanted to share with you one thing Ryan Walters did this week that is kind of fascinating, because he was on the show hosted by a fellow right-wing provocateur propagandist, Glenn Beck. Remember him? So he was on Glenn Beck's show. And basically, Glenn Beck pointed out that if you're pushing Bibles in the classroom, he is worried, Glenn Beck said. He's worried that some public school teachers might use the opportunity to criticize the Bible. Like, well, if you have to share it in class, what's stopping teachers from saying, yeah, kids, this book is a work of fiction? And Glenn Beck is like, we have to teach it with reverence and awe. And like, what's stopping teachers from criticizing the book? Which is a very weird thing for anybody to fear, right? Because we already know what happens whenever Christianity is brought into the classroom in public schools. When we talk about chaplains in schools, what do? They proselytize. What happens when you offer Bible as literature classes, as electives? The teacher routinely does not teach it objectively, right? They tell you this stuff is true. What happens with after-school Bible clubs? Those are legal, but when non-Christian groups like the Satanic Temple try to launch after-school clubs, they are told they can't do it. Like, everything is supposed to be objective and neutral, but Christianity always gets the upper hand, right? Christian teachers routinely turn into Sunday school preachers. Christian clubs are allowed. Satanic alternatives are banned. Bible stories are taught as if they are fact. Jesus is treated like someone who actually lived. God is treated as real. The adults act like the book is historical and not an ancient collection of stories. So I don't know why Glenn Beck is like, if we put the Bible in the classroom, aren't we all afraid that teachers are going to criticize the Bible? Because that's never what happens. What will happen in Oklahoma, of all places, is that if you allow some teachers to use the Bible in class, they're going to start preaching at the kids. That's what happens every single time. Okay, but that's just me. Now, if you're Ryan Walters, how do you respond to that question? Right? How do you respond to it? You could say, no, I'm not worried about that, because we only want objective teaching of the Bible. We've made it very clear that we want you to use the Bible in class, but you can't treat it like it's church. You have to teach this objectively. No teacher is allowed to promote or denigrate Christian beliefs, because this has nothing to do with Christian beliefs. After all, we just want students to know history or literature. Like, we're not asking anyone for their stance on the Bible. That's what he could have said. I'm going to play for you what his response is, and I just want you to pay attention to the problem that he thinks is going to happen if you put Bibles in the classroom. Okay?
We have to do this the right way. We've already put out guidance that says, listen, you're not to come in here and push your view of religion onto the kids. Okay? This is a history lesson. This is understanding its historical context. So, again, we give these examples in our guidance, and we say, listen, you are to teach it in its historical context in these specific standards. So we've laid out, this is how you teach it, this is where it is, this is the historical context around it. And, again, if we have somebody in there attacking religion, trying to push that view on kids, they're not going to teach in the state of Oklahoma. We're not going to tolerate that. You've seen these leftist activists. We've been crystal clear. Here are the educational standards. You will educate, not indoctrinate. And if you cross that line, you're going to have to find another profession.
So in Ryan Walters' mind, the people who are most likely to indoctrinate kids are leftist activists in the classroom who are attacking religion. not Christian teachers in Oklahoma who see an opening and decide to run with it. Like, who the hell thinks there's going to be a teacher? Imagine there's a teacher who says Adam and Eve were real in the process of trying to explain some literary reference. If a teacher says Adam and Eve were real, which they're not, do you think that teacher is going to be reprimanded? Of course not. This is Oklahoma. But a teacher who correctly says Adam and Eve are fictional characters, even in the context of trying to explain the Genesis story so that kids understand some other, allusion, they would probably get in trouble for it. But Glenn Beck, of course, didn't push back on Ryan Walters' answer because even Glenn Beck is like, yeah, you know who we should be worried about? Atheists. Not the Christians who are going to proselytize, just the atheists who are like, listen, I have to do this, but I don't like it. That's who we should be worried about, apparently. But this is what teachers in Oklahoma can expect if Ryan Walters' Bible mandate that he issued over the summer is ever taken seriously. They'll be monitored like crazy to make sure they're teaching the Bible the way Ryan Walters wants you to teach the Bible. And that means, according to his own guidance letter from earlier this summer, they have to explain, quote, how biblical principles have shaped the foundational aspects of Western societies, such as the concepts of justice, human rights, and the rule of law. And they have to teach how composers have interpreted and expressed biblical themes through music. And they have to assign essays that require critical thinking and analysis of the Bible's role in literature, history, and culture. Like, that guidance actually went out of its way, ironically, to say teachers cannot promote or favor any religious beliefs and that these classes have to be taught objectively. That's what it said on paper. Ryan Walters is here saying, man, we got to stop those atheists. They're the problems when it comes to Bibles in the classroom. And here they are, like, Walters says something in writing. That's one thing, because it might end up in court one day. But when he's talking to one of his right-wing allies, he has a completely different tune. He just shifts to trashing imaginary liberal teachers. I promise you, we are not all flocking to Oklahoma. He's going after those teachers in his mind who might criticize the Bible even after he forces them to use it in their lesson plans. So, all right, I'll stop there with that. That was a quick one. What questions we got here? I thought Glenn Beck was gone. Sorry, we don't live in the good world. He's still around. He's still spreading BS. It's what he's good at. And every now and then he'll pop up to say, you guys, I was wrong for doing that. And he'll get like a full profile write-up in the New York Times. And then 3 minutes later, he's back to spreading BS. It's what he does. While Walters is pushing his view, he says teachers can't push theirs. Right. Because this is the hilarious thing. Ryan Walters is like, I'm the objective one. I want the Bible in classrooms so you could teach it in a neutral way. But if you dare have any opinion on this, you're the biased one and you're the one who needs to be punished for it. I guess if you understand the illogic there, well, you probably didn't go to elementary school in Oklahoma. They're only ranked 49th in education.